All right, we're back, everybody. This is the SilmFilm script discussion, season 2, episode 7, part 2. We've kind of successfully managed to work out our protagonist issue. We're kind of working toward our way through Act 1 here. Brandon on our YouTube chat asked, could this marriage be something Finwe does in part to handle an already stubborn wunderkind Feanor? Yeah. It would be interesting if Finwe initially rejects Indis' presence in their home because he feels like she's trying to replace Muriel, and then it occurs to him that maybe he needs somebody to replace Muriel because Feanor is a bit of a handful.
The issue with that, I mean, it does work. We can certainly set it up structurally that Indis will be there to hang out with Feanor and then progresses to marrying Finwe. Is it kind of makes it look like Finway's marrying the nanny?
Yeah, yeah.
Which,
he is.
Yes, he is. That's what I mean. That's a, oh, my son needs a mom, and you're here, and you take care of him real well. Oh, why don't you just move in? We'll make it official. So, but the idea was to show that.
Is that really go on?
The idea was to show that Finwe and Indis do have a real loving relationship with each other.
Yes.
It sounded like the host didn't want it to be too terribly romantic. Yeah, it was there was no sweeping of anyone off of feet. Like it was very subtle, but still a very real solid relationship.
That's kind of why I'm suggesting this. Because to a degree, it is a marriage of it's not quite like a marriage of convenience, but if it's a non-romantic, if it's not a super passionate decision, if it's not a decision charged by sexual passion, then it's charged by a meaningful relationship between the two people, and it's like a working relationship. It's a partnership. Right?
Yeah. I guess the reason why it doesn't sound like a partnership is if she's the nanny and taking care of the kid, it sounds very much like, oh, you're just a member of my household. It doesn't sound like equal partners at all. But
except
yeah,
she's a princess.
She is. She's Ingwe's daughter now, and Alex had something to say about that.
Yeah.
I want Ingwe to be worried about Finwe, who mentions it to Indis, who takes the idea and runs with it and decides to seduce Finwe and politic her way to the Valar granting a second marriage. I want her to be as dubious as Feanor so the audience doesn't pick a favorite.
I don't like that. That paints her in a decidedly negative light.
I want her to be a lot more well-meaning than that. Yeah. But as far as who asks the Valar, hey, can there be a second marriage here? The request coming from Indis or coming from Finwe is very different. And if Indis is our protagonist, it sounds like she should be involved in getting that petition made, not Finwe being like, hey, let's get married. Oh, you're not allowed to do that? Let's go talk to someone who can change that rule for us.
Okay. Here's an idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if we resolve the whole Finwe isn't happy with Indis inserting herself in their lives issue very quickly, where like he has a little temper tantrum and then like she leaves the house wherever they live clearly upset, and he goes after her and apologizes for exploding like a maniac, and they have a moment.
Yeah, but do you really want a relationship to have started from he just yelled at her and chased her out of the house crying? Like, that sounds like a really bad basis for a relationship. The way Tolkien did it is probably not helpful to us, so we don't have to do it the exact same way.
No, it's not helpful at all.
Yeah, the way Tolkien does it is that Indis is like walking down the hill from Valmar, and the lights of the trees are mingling, and it's in her hair, and Finwe sees her, and realizes that he can have like a second chance or something. Like it's very much he sees her from afar and he thinks about it and is like, oh wow, and then
she always liked him anyway, and
she always liked him all the time anyway, is how Tolkien wrote it, so that she's thrilled that he's interested in her now. But I think that might be after the Valar have already made the decision and said that he's allowed to remarry. Like, it's the statute of Finwe and Muriel. It's not the statute of Finwe and Indis. Like, Indis wasn't, in the original version, fundamental to getting that permission. But we can change it so that she is. Yes, and I agree that giving her agency in this makes a lot more sense than keeping it completely passive and that she was just pretty standing on the hillside.
We do have some people bringing up saying that we should give Finwë more initiative because he doesn't have a lot of those moments. Of course, this is one of Finwë's flaws as a character, but we don't want him to be just dragged along by the narrative completely.
I agree that he can't just be like talked into a second wedding. Like, oh yeah, sure, I can do that. Sure, yeah, I've always wanted a house full of kids, and you're here, and why not? Like, that can't be Finwë's approach to this.
He's not the protagonist. He sucks it up this episode. It's not about him.
I understand that, but he has to at least not look like he's just there. Like have you seen The Color Purple?
I feel like I have. I don't
okay, it takes place in the South. It's some women. The guys in the story are cardboard cutouts.
The South of the United States, by the way, Alex, and other people watching.
Oh yeah, sorry, I forget. This is internet.
I know.
Yeah. So it takes place in a small community in the South, and it's really an interesting story. It's a well-written book, and the film is good as well. Won a lot of awards and stuff. But the one weird thing about it is that the guys in that story are not characters. Like, they are literal cardboard cutouts stuck on the screen. I mean, not literal; they're figuratively. They're actors, but. I'm not describing this very well. My point is, the guys have nothing to do with the story. Like, they're in it, they cause things that happen, but they're not characters. You don't understand anything about them. They don't make any sense. They're just there. So we probably don't
like Pride and Prejudice, only worse.
Yeah, because at least the guys in Pride and Prejudice sometimes talk to each other in scenes where you kind of see their motivation a little bit.
Right. Yeah, well, it's funny because Pride and Prejudice fails the Bechdel test the other way.
Right. Yeah. So The Color Purple does not have actual male characters in it. There are male actors on screen, and they do things that are important to the plot, but they're not characters.
Yeah.
So all I want to avoid with Finwë is not making him a cardboard cutout who's just there. Yes. Like, he should have some clear motivation for his choices. It doesn't have to be all about him. He's not center stage, but let's not destroy his character just so Indis can take over everything.
Right. Okay. So I'm not sure I'm crazy about the idea of Ingwe making a suggestion that Indis get involved because that kind of puts Ingwe's stamp of approval on their marriage.
And conflict should definitely be coming from that direction really soon.
Oh, yeah. Like,
if anything, there's the reason the Valar need to get involved. Because my question has always been, why does the king need to ask permission to remarry? He's the king. He can just say, okay, I'm allowed to do this now. Yeah. But why is there a pope involved?
If anything, Ingwe is the pope.
Well, no. Ingwe's High King.
Yes.
So he's king of all the elves.
No, the pope.
In Valinor. No, the pope is a religious figure who's separate from the civil authorities. I know, but even in countries where the pope was in charge of things, it was a separate system. So the Valar are that separate system.
Yes.
And if there's a conflict between Ingwe and Finwë over whether or not Ingwe's daughter can marry Finwë as a second marriage, that would have to be resolved by the Valar. they'd have to get involved. Because
Yes.
who's going to judge the two kings?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we'll need Ingwe to kick it into the Valar's court, or we'll need Vienna to run and get the Valar involved.
I mean,
But
quite honestly, I don't see Indis as being at fault in this situation.
no, but because it's a scandalous situation, her dad's not happy.
Well, no, I get that. I'm kind of answering Alex's thing where he's saying that, yeah, no, Ingwe should totally not be on board with Indis's decision, but he says, my Ingwe thing was Indis took his concern and went the wrong way, too far on her own initiative. I don't necessarily feel like she is going too far.
If what Ingwe meant was, oh, Finway's got his hands full with this rambunctious little kid, you were always friendly with the family, you should stop by and visit sometimes, make sure, keep them company. If that's what Ingwe said to her, and then she comes back, so I'm going to marry Finway now, I could see how Ingwe would view that as going too far. If his instruction was, oh, help out these people in need, and her response is, Dad, I've run off to marry one of the Noldor, and guess what? It's a second marriage. Like,
Okay.
yes, I speak for Alex. Okay.
All right. Okay. So we see Finway in Lorien weeping to Nienna. Then we go to, I mean, are they in Valmar? They're not in Valmar. Are they the Vanyar? Or they're living like they are in Valmar.
Yes.
Valmar.
The Vanyar live in Valmar, which is around the base of Tenequatil.
Okay, cool. So I always feel like Valmar is someplace not right next to Tenequatil, but I'm wrong. So,
Right.
So she's moved there since Muriel, her best friend in the whole world, died.
Yeah, she probably is going to have to move there earlier now, but we'll deal with that when her mother comes back from the dead.
Well, yeah, but the whole thing in the last episode was that she stayed in Tyrion to help Muriel with the pregnancy.
I know, but it probably isn't going to work. No, she can visit Tyrion. We can keep all the scenes. It's just she can't be living there anymore. She probably has already.
All right,
that's all.
That's fine. All right, fine.
I'm
Anyway.
sorry. It just
if
her mother came back from the dead in episode 5, then she'd probably want to spend time with her newly reunited mother. So she would be living with her parents in Valmar.
Anyway. What
if she hates her mother, then yes, you're right. She would have stayed in Tyrion to stay away from her. Maybe her parents are like in their second honeymoon phase and she's just grossed out by it, so she hangs out in Tyrion with her best bud. That's quite possible, Alex, but no.
Okay, so she's back. She's in Valmar with Ingwe, and he, maybe he comes back in from having visited Tyrion.
Okay.
And or do we show Ingwe visiting Tyrion and finding Finway not there and Feanor is running amok? Teenage Feanor is running amok.
If Ingwe's going to say something to his daughter, we should probably see what
spurred this. I don't want to wait too long to get to her.
No, right. So while Finway is in Lorien, alone, visiting Muriel's body,
sleeping, comatose, catatonic body.
Yes, and he's weeping and he's spending time with Nienna. At the same time, Ingwe could be in Tyrion, and Feanor then would be on his own. Now, is this child Feanor or teenage Feanor?
I'm thinking teenage Feanor to show the passage of time.
Okay.
What do we think?
And we're gonna need teenage Feanor later in the episode, so having no child actor is nice. Yeah. Alex,
also, less child time is. Yes,
it is. It's very difficult to convey a story with child actors because what you're trying to get out of
what
them.
they're doing.
It's not that. It's that if you're expecting them to convey a whole story, they don't tend to have that.
Brendan says that we have Teenage Mutant Ninja Feanor. Unless you're Bugsy Malone, it doesn't work. All right. So Feanor. I mean, like, but what is he doing? That's so terrible.
What's happening right now is Alqualande is being built.
Yeah.
So, because the Teleri just showed up at the end of the last episode.
Mad science. He's blown. Oh my gosh, that's actually really good. He's blown something up.
I love that. The chemistry teacher in me thinks he should be doing flame tests, but that's okay.
Oh my gosh. Okay. No, that's actually really good. I like it.
We're going to have him find a person to apprentice to later in the episode. So having him do experiments on his own that don't go very well, yeah. Sure. And we should see the first scene with
Spirit of Fire. He sets fire to something.
Right. And there should be creativity to him from the very beginning. Like, we shouldn't start the episode with him being angry. We should start the episode with him being creative and doing things. But it's on fire and blowing up, so maybe it shows the danger of him just doing things on his own.
Right. He needs a strong hand, this one.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are no strong enough hands, is the problem. So
nerd enough for a time.
Yeah.
For a time.
Big dolphin, yes.
I mean, what stronger hand do you need?
Don't worry, Alex. We're getting Fingolfin in this very episode.
He's totally going to be born, but first we need to get his parents together.
Yes. So Feanor blows something up. So that's our teaser. I imagine. No?
Are we going to start with Ingwe?
Yeah, start with Finwe. That's not a long scene.
Oh, I see. And then do the Ingwe meeting Feanor blowing things up.
Right.
And that's our teaser. Both Okay.
Yes. Because we need to get to Indis.
Yes.
Act 1. Act 1 needs to open up with Indis, I think.
Yes.
Pyro Feanor. Yes.
I mean, you would be right. Teenage Feanor would totally be a pyro.
It's funny because Pyro Feanor is like fiery spirit of fire. But anyway, so we get so now we get Indis in Valmar. Ingwe comes back from Tyrion and is just like, gee, I don't know what Finway's going to do. That kid's a maniac. Mm-hmm. You know, Finwe needs to spend more time with his son and his people and less time hanging out in Lorien. Muriel's not coming back. Can we put that in his mouth?
But see, he wouldn't feel that way. This is somebody who grieved his own wife for hundreds of years and then she came back. So
that's true. Okay.
Ingwe's going to be a lot more sympathetic to Finway's grieving process than most people. I don't think he should be. But part of what you said.
His wife has died. Now that his wife has died, he's got to be a lot more sympathetic.
Well, people who are like, isn't he going to get over it already about grief, tend to be people who have not gone through losing a parent, a child, a spouse, someone who's really close to them.
Or people who have and
didn't deal with it well.
Or dealt with it, like just buried it and apparently came out all fine. Or sociopaths, but like if somebody, like you hear about things like somebody having lost their parents at a young age, and then their friend loses their parents, And they're like, oh, big deal, crybaby. My parents have been gone for years.
Yes,
you know?
okay, that is true. The difference between someone who loses their parents when they're 10 versus someone who is burying their parents in their 60s, and they're like, really, you're destroyed by this? Or, you know, someone who's lost a bunch of close relatives and someone else goes, you know, total breakdown over, oh my gosh, my grandparents have died. It's like, yeah, it happens. Get over it. So yes, I do hear you on that point.
Yeah.
That sometimes people who have dealt with grief are less sympathetic to what they perceive as a more minor hiccup.
Yeah.
But I really don't see Ingwe responding to Finway's loss with, whatever, wives die all the time, get over it.
Yeah, I know. I get it. That might be a little bit too much. All right, why don't we take a break real quick as I echo loudly in the background. Yeah, if you're watching this live, we'll be back in a few minutes. If you're watching this on YouTube later, thanks for your support. Thanks for liking and sharing the videos. If you like and want to share them. If you haven't yet, feel free to subscribe. We'll be back in a second.